Hello, everyone. John Browning from Guardian Rock Wealth here, and I have gotten so many questions about the new bill that Joe Biden signed into law, but of course, not to ignore the fact that the Senate and the Congress also passed this bill through that increases benefits for some, very few, Social Security beneficiaries, leaving arguably much, much more, the vast majority of them, out in the proverbial cold. And folks are very upset about this, but 2.5 million people are very happy about this. So what does it mean for you? First of all, will I get increased benefits? Well, if you have never heard of this bill, you probably will not get anything extra. If you have never heard of the GPO or the WEP, then you're probably not set to get any benefits from it. And what does it cost us? Well, it costs us $190 billion roughly to make this happen. And what does that mean for Social Security? Isn't Social Security in trouble already? Yes. Yes, it is. It is currently set to run out of money, the Social Security Trust Fund, by 2033. And this act makes it run out, if nothing else is done, makes it run out in about 2032. And keep in mind, that sounds like a long way away to me, doesn't it to you? But it's not really. It's 9 years. Matter of fact, when I start taking Social Security, it's about when it's supposed to run out of money. Well, what happens? Well, by rule of law, if that were to happen, then automatically across the board, everyone's Social Security benefits would be cut by roughly 20%. So if you get $1,000 a month, you're going to suddenly get $800 a month. That could put a dent in your budget. So yes, it definitely makes a difference. It is a big deal. Now, here's the angry mob saying it's not fair. Well, okay, but was it fair that the WEP or what that was is if you were for the government and you had a government pension, back in the 80s, they said, well, you're not entitled to the same Social Security as everybody else because you get a government pension, and that's essentially double dipping. In reality, if you do the math and you really look at it, the government has to make everything a little bit more complicated than it probably needs to be. Arguably, if you were a teacher, a police officer, or another government worker of some sorts, and you did get that pension for some time, but then you worked in the private sector so that you were eligible for Social Security, that means you had to have essentially worked for the private sector for at least 10 years. You got penalized for that. So arguably, it actually did penalize firefighters, teachers, all the people, and police officers, all the people that we, in my opinion, don't want to penalize for serving as a public servant. Yes, they got paid for it, I know, like everybody else. And yes, they got a pension, as they should. We get our 401ks, and maybe we also get a pension or something like that. But we could argue this all day long. The reality is that the bill passed. 2.5 million people are happy, and 65 or so million people aren't as happy, but their benefits didn't get cut. So what people are more upset about is that there's really no plan. We just decided to spend more money, which Congress is really good at, right? They're extremely good at spending money and not having a plan to actually fund it. So that's what people are really upset about. Most people agree that the WEP and the GPO essentially eliminated the spousal benefit, by the way. So if somebody who worked for the government was getting some Social Security and then they passed away, their spouse essentially got nothing. So that doesn't seem quite fair either. So I don't think anybody really disagrees, if they understand all the math behind it, that something needed to be done. But the real thing that has people angry and very emotional about this is, once again, spending money without a way to fund it. No plans, no idea what we're going to do. We're just going to spend more money. So what could be done about that? Several senators did sort of stand up and say, hey, we need to figure out a way to fund this. And there's several things that have been floated out there. Things like, right now at $176,000 in salary, you stop paying into Social Security. I used to love that when I worked on Wall Street, and you get to that point and suddenly your paycheck went up because you no longer had to pay into the Social Security pockets. And arguably, the net return for most people on Social Security is about a negative 4%. So I kind of get that as well. So raising that from what it is today, which is about 176,000 to say 200,000 or something like that, drastically lengthens the amount of time that the Social Security Trust Fund stays solvent. So there are some other things that could be done as well, such as you could actually do something besides invest in U.S. Treasuries in the Social Security Administration's trust fund, not necessarily with the entire fund, but with some of the fund. And what would that do, though, then? Because the market is a complex adaptive system. So if suddenly you have billions and billions of Social Security dollars being invested in, say, the equity market, which is much, much smaller than the treasury market, what does that do? How does that skew the market? And then who's in charge of the investment of those dollars? Does it just blanket go to, say, the S&P 500, or what happens with that? So it does get complicated. And actually, I would say complex. But this is just one of the issues, of course, with Social Security. But bottom line is, what does it mean to you? If you've never heard of the WEP or the GPO, then you probably aren't really being impacted anyway and don't have anything to worry about. It's not like your benefits are going to go down or anything that's really changed that drastically, except that Social Security is set, if nothing is done, to run out of money 6 months earlier, so less than 9 years away. Other than that, nothing really changes, except the debate continues in Washington. So I hope that clears up some of the questions that you have on Social Security and what just happened. And if not, reach out to us at guardianrockwealth.com. And we'll also have some more videos about when to take Social Security, when not to take Social Security. And just keep in mind that when you call the Social Security office, they are not financial advisors. They're very nice people. They're very helpful in one piece of the puzzle, which is Social Security. Social Security was never meant to replace your income in retirement. If you make a very low income, then it replaces more of your income as a percentage. If you make a very high income, then it's likely only going to replace a very small portion of your income in retirement. So understand that the Social Security Administration person on the other end of the phone, when you call her, when you go into the office, is not a financial planner. They don't have the tools, and nor do they have the time to do a comprehensive financial plan. They're not tax experts, so they may have you taking Social Security in a way that is going to be tax disadvantageous. So reach out to us or another qualified financial professional to help you with that. This is John Browning, Guardian Rock Wealth, guardianrockwealth.com. Reach out to us. We'd be happy to chat with you about this or anything else regarding using the tool we call money to build your best life.